So back to code with Gilbert section, and in this module we are going to be talking about loop statements in JavaScript. I don't know what I was thinking. This is supposed to be the immediate tutorial or class that I'm supposed to post after the conditional statement. So pardon me, pardon my manner. So let's just accept like that and flow along with it. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open the atom, and I'll find my Chrome browser here. So I'm going to launch the Chrome. So let's just talk about the loop statement. So the loop statement allow you to loop through a sequence of value from the start to the end, and gives you chance or mechanism to actually goes ahead and utilize and manipulate it during the sequence of the loop. So that is what the loop statement actually does for you. Oops, was it the camera you use and Google blah blah blah. Computer Chrome has locked the profile, it didn't corrupt. So that is actually what the loop statement is. Now, what's this? For a second, please. Okay, that's good. I got it. Alright, so it's empty now. Okay, good. And that is what the loop statement is. It is very, very important to understand the loop statement. So if we will have a value, so let me just use from 1 to 10 as an example. The loop statement allows you to loop through the values one by one, sequence by sequence, and then manipulate the value to actually suit for yourself, to suit your taste or whatsoever that you want to do, whatsoever manipulations that you want it to take place in that case or scenario. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'll open the folder. So I don't want to complicate this guy. I just want to create another folder entirely. I don't want to touch this. Where are you? So document is code giver, then JavaScript call. So JavaScript object. I'll create another folder. So I'm going to name it loop statement like that. So, and from here I'm going to open this with my atom. So I don't think I can find it there. I'll just find it with another application. So let's see if I can find atom. So that's atom. Good. Alright, so I should be able to close this now. Okay, so I'll just stop this welcome guide. I don't know what I need to do it with. So the first thing is, let's create our index.html, and I'm still going to use this medium to introduce what is called inline JavaScript to us. So I don't know if I've actually been talking about the external JavaScript, where we have to be creating a folder that contains JavaScript outside of a page. And in this tutorial I'm not going to be doing that. Everything we're going to be doing is going to be inside the HTML, and we are going to call it an internal script. So just like how we have the CSS to have inline, internal and external, so we can also have the JavaScript. Let's just go ahead and start up. So we are writing HTML5 as we know. So the first thing to do is to do the doc type of HTML. Then this should have been a culture now. So when I say the culture, I mean a total way of writing codes that we must have contributed right now, because I don't know, we should have been able to even set up our own program by ourselves. So let us look at it, the loop statement in JS. So this really looks nice. I don't want to create any meta information here, so I'll just want to move to the body. Meta information, I'll leave that to you to fix it out, do it by yourself. So what I want to show you is the JavaScript can be embedded or embed in the head by using the script tag and closing the script tag, and any JavaScript that is embed before the on within the head tag is going to execute before the page loads, and anyone that is embed right inside the document is going to execute when the document finish actually loading or whatsoever. So why do I do text? I want to type plus text plus JavaScript, as we know. So that's it. And right here, without providing source, we can begin to write our JavaScript. Let A equals to B, let's do like that. And this is what we are going to be doing today for a while. For our for loop. So let's just open an h1, or let me say let's just throw an h1 that says, okay, welcome to loop statement in JavaScript. Alright, so I just got that one fixed now. And right here, so I'm going to create a paragraph that's going to be an ID of our output. So maybe I should stop using ID now, so or I should just continue to use ID. So what I want to do is there, when the page unloads, I want to go ahead and create a function that it is I'm going to be defining right here. So we'll call the function here. So I can now create the function. Let me create the function first. Function of, I'm going to call it setup. So that's awesome. Then I can call setup right here. Setup. So let's see how this works. I'm just going to allow. Okay, welcome, let's continue. Good. To get the parts, I'm just going to copy the full parts, and right here I'm going to paste it up in the browser and refresh. As soon as we refresh, you can see we have welcome, let's continue, and then welcome to loop statements in JavaScript. So this is where we are going to manipulate the scripts that we're supposed to use in this tutorial. Alright, so this, since we are able to call this, then we can go ahead and start our scripting here. So the first thing I want to introduce you to is what is called the for loop in JavaScript. So the for loop in JavaScript is really one of the important loops that you're supposed to understand, because it actually comes in three versions. So the first version is what I like to call the off version. So off version, and the second version I like to call is the end version, and the third version I like to call it sequential version, like that. So version, do I get that? I think I should get it. Sequential, do I get that? I feel bad for myself. Okay, this is this sequential, or I should call it the delimiter? Okay, I used to call it the delimiter version. Alright, so these are the three versions of for loops that we have, and I would like to pick them one by one and introduce it to you one by one. So the first thing I want to have is that, let's say we have a value of, let me say a variable that is called alphabet. Then inside the variable we have a b c d e f g h I j k l m n o p q r s t u v w x y z, like that. So let's say we have the value predefined. Let's say we have the okay, so let's say you have a variable that keeps the alphabet like this, and you actually wish to link it to loop through these alphabets one by one, starting from A to B, from B to C, from C to D, like that. Probably maybe when you reach C you want to do something, or when you reach any of these characters alphabets you want to do something. And that is where the use of for loop comes in place in JavaScript. So to do this, to get start with this, let's just declare our output. So you can see from the document right that we are loading from, then we are getting our elements by id or output. So then we can give it the output master. So we are very certain about this, that we are getting the output element right here, which is referring to this place. Okay, so let's go ahead and try the first loop. So the kind of loop that you find yourself to do is for loop. So we can say for, then we need a delimiter. So we need to create a variable, let's say hi, so which is very common. I don't know why people, it has become religious for programmers to use I, but I try to change my own mindset. So I usually use Z or K, even Y. So let's also use I. So for hi of, then we are going to select the variable of alpha. So what we want to do is here, we want to do output, what's that, dot inner html, sorry, html is equals to I. How this works, I'm going to explain when it actually views it, because um let's say first that I'm going to explain, because seeing is believing. Let's refresh this guy. So as you can see right here, if I could zoom this up, I'm able to see the Z. So this is it, I'm able to see Z, and that is because while I can actually say with the hope of seeing this Z, I can actually say, okay, it is true that my loop does work, does loop from A to Z. And what is the reason why, actually the reason why I'm not seeing the rest of the loops here? And that is because when each of them try to loops, JavaScript here only captures the last value here, which is Z here, in order to manipulate the inner HTML. So what we can do is called concatenation, and the concatenation in JavaScript is actually very important. So I can say, I can use this way, plus or equals to 1, like this. So by using this, I believe it should work. It should be able to print out the whole value from A to Z. Sorry for that. And it does work when I refresh the page. So what I did is that I begin to append the inner HTML, I begin to append it to themselves. So one by one I append it, and I'm able to view this in a browser. So another approach for this is for you to actually, because this actually means this also, so I can say what I made is output, what's that, dot inner HTML plus 1 again. So this is what I meant by the first what's called method I used. So this is the same thing with this. If I say equal to, like that, so this is what I meant. I'm trying to append the output.inner HTML, then trying to append it with the inner HTML, then plus 1. So each time this loops is going to be appending it to the inner HTML. This sounds logical, but trust me, this is really something you want to know how it works better, and you want to practice it yourself to see how it's actually working. Let me just refresh this once again, and everything is fine, it's still working the same way. So when I know there is a shortcut for this, why do I want to do this? Why do I really want to do this? So that is why it's always good to learn the shortcut. Alright, so we realized that this actually loops through our alphabet, and what do we want to do now? So we can begin a query here. So and that is why it's very very important for us to to loop through a value, then capture the value that we want to manipulate. So we can say if I is equal to, so maybe we reach G, which is for Gabriel, then we can just say output, oh my god, what's that, dot inner HTML should be equal to let me say plus or equal to, so we want to append that one to plus or equal to um G stands for Gabriel. So that's it. Let's refresh this, and as you can see during this sequence, when it's looping through, when it's actually looping through the array, when it's looping through the value, you can see when it reach G, so this is FG, then this is stand for Gabriel. Immediately after it's reached G, it tries to actually append what I actually asked, because we are able to grab during the sequence of the loop, we're able to grab the value we are looking for, then put another thing on there on the page. Let me remove this because the G is actually what is showing up right there. So you can see we no longer see G in the loop. The only thing that we can find in the loop is stand for Gabriel, and G actually continues in the other way around. As a matter of fact, if we want to stop, so maybe probably out of the old loop, what we are looking for initially is Gabriel. So if we actually want to stop, we can always go ahead and stop the old loop, so by using the break. So if this is there, then append this, then break out of this loop. I don't know if, so I'm just going to lift this up, refresh it, and I'm able to break out of the loop and say stands for Gilbert. So we can put the G back now. G stands for Gilbert. So I'll break out of the loop. I can even try to bring this guy back and put the G right here, refresh it. You can see. So what happened here is, I'm just going to explain this for a second. What happened here is just refresh, is I'm able to start looping from A, B, C, D, E, F, and when it reach G, it breaks out of the loop, which means it's cut off the loop, and it's okay, I'm done with the loop since I already find what I'm looking for you, and that is what the break statement is doing right here. And then append this, then stop appending the rest of the value, which is supposed to start from G, H, I, J, K, blah 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 to Z. So that is the first scope I want you to understand. So the second scope is to change the off to in. So see what we are going to get. So for I in alpha, so for I in alpha, we can see it actually turns to number, and that is because, let me eradicate this, we don't need this anymore for now. And that is because if we look at this really closely to our highs, do I still have them? Why is this still feeling like I have? So for high in alpha now, if you look at this closely, and everything that this is actually dealing with is, I don't know, sorry, I don't want to append, I just want to print it out like that. And as a matter of fact, the best place to put this is in the console. So console.log I, then let me comment this out now. This is not HTML. This is a JavaScript atom, please. Alright, so if I press F12, we'll be able to switch away from there and see what is happening in the console. So if you study what is happening in the console, you are going to realize that what we are doing is that we are able to get the index of each of these alphabets that we put in right here. So as we know, in our alphabet is 26, and due to the count of JavaScript from 0, so if you count this, like you eliminate this 0, you start 1, 2, 3, it's going to end up 26. Is able to return the index, and that is what the in actually does for you. So let's say we are looking for 25, so we know 25 is actually is actually the last one. So I'm going to look for, this is 25, this is 24. So I want to show you what an a continue statement can do. So I can say if I is equal to 24, which is too long, so I can say continue. So sorry, pardon my manner. What this is going to do actually initially, what it's going to do is going to skip 24 and then continue to the rest of the array. Let's just go ahead and see this. So we can leave it, then I will refresh this guy, and as you see right here where I'm pointing my my mouse, so once we reach 23, we don't have 24 because 24 it has been skipped. And that is how the break statement and the continue statement works in JavaScript. So let's quickly round up this video by going to the third method of doing loop, and that is what I call the delimiter, the delimiter version. So I called it, it's not called like that in JavaScript, so it's my own philosophy way of knowing it way. Okay, so what how does this work? So this works by, we set up a delimiter, then we compare the delimiter by the length of the string or of the loop or the value that we want to loop through. Then we ask the delimiter to continue to increase or decrease or post decrease. So we call it increment, decrement, post decrement, post increment, and post decrement, if I can decrement, and if I could remember vividly. Yeah, those are the four that we have. So the first one is increment, the second one is decrement, and the third one is post increment, the first one is post decrement. So let's just go ahead, I'm talking too much. So we start by the first statement, and this is actually syntactic in nature. So we need to actually initiate where the delimiter is going to start. We say for I is equals to 0. So this I is our delimiter, then we are starting from 0. So we need to separate this. Then we say the delimiter is actually, this is the query now, lesser than the alpha. So what we want to loop through dot length and the delimiter plus plus, which is increment. And how this thing works is similar to the while loop, but this is really working in a different way other than while loop, because during the while loop actually executes based on when a condition is true, then we can continue to increment the value, and then we are able to loop through the sequence. But here we just set up that, okay, from 0 to the length of the value that we want to loop through, and that is when we want to perform the loop. Then here we are telling it, okay, each time you go from 0 to 1, make sure you increment your value. So let's just go and do this by doing console.log I to see what is going to happen first. And please, because we have this, it's going to be similar. The difference is that we are having 24 missing, and 24 will be there right now. I refresh now. So when I refresh this, you can see I have the delimiter working from 0 to 25, and that is because it is increment. What about having it to be decrement instead of increment? So you see, when I have it to be decrement in value, when I have the loop to be decrement, you can see that it started from negative, and that is how the increment and decrement works. And right now I'm actually hanging my system out because the loop is working forever. So I need to stop this from working now. I'm really hanging my system out, really hanging it out. It's not even responding to me anymore, and that's not good, so I have to close it up. This kind of script can get you hacked, and since it's going to continue forever, that it's not breaking, it can actually get you hacked. Trust me, it's gonna get you hacked. So I have to fire up the Chrome browser again. So that was a quick knockout for me. That's funny. Okay, let's grab this guy again. So the full parts, so paste it. I just want to show you how the decrement work. So now we are back to increment now, so it's working. So why don't we start for post increment now? So these are actually, this is post increment, and let's refresh this, and you can see it does nothing but work similar to increment, but this is actually different from it's actually different from what we think it is. It's not actually like that of the increment, and then now it is post decrement. So post decrement actually is like we are saying, we are forecasting the future right before it happens. So what I mean by we are forecasting the future right before it happens is that, or what we are trying to do is that we are trying to increment the value before it goes to the loop. So it goes like, okay, if it is 0, then 0 plus 1. So it's not if it is 0, if until it gets to 0, then move to 0 plus 1. So this is okay. If I with 0, just do it. I think the logic is behind how it works and how everything fall back in places. So let's just go ahead and view the alpha now. Alpha. Okay, so the alpha, now what I'm trying to do is that console.log the alpha when I am actually on the index of I, and this is the syntax right here. So I access this like an array now, so I'm able to turn this to an array, and let's refresh this. So what we got is we are able to have our, I don't know if there is any way to view this to make it looks bigger. I've been battling with this issue since. Is there any way? Okay, all we have is just that we are able to loop through this sorry for that, from A to B to C to D to E to F to plan like that, then to Z. So that's what we are able to do. That is how I want to show you how you can loop through it. If I used a post decrement now, you still want me going to get myself out. That's bad. Yeah, so it said undefined, undefined, and you can see that the loops continue forever. You can see it's 500 and something, so I need to stop this from working now as soon as I can. It's not even answering me, so I need to close my window. Oh my god, really, this is not really nice now. All right, that's the end of the tutorial. Thank you.